It's Monday morning, your alarm goes off, and somewhere between the snooze button and the shower, you do the math. Between now and retirement, you're going to do this about 10,000 more times. Now rewind 30,000 years. You also have a job, sort of. Except your entire work week is about 15 hours. Your commute is a walk through the woods with your friends. Your boss doesn't exist. And your workday, the whole thing, is usually done before lunch. No jobs, no money, no Mondays. And yet somehow, nobody was bored and nobody starved. So what did ancient humans actually do all day? You wake up with the sun because the sun is the only alarm anyone has. Breakfast is whatever's left over from yesterday. And then it's time for the one thing that actually has to happen today. Finding food. Here's the first thing everyone gets wrong. You're picturing hunters, right? Brave men with spears chasing a mammoth through the snow. Forget it. The real job, the one that actually kept everyone alive, was gathering. Berries, roots, nuts, honey, eggs, shellfish. Groceries, basically, except they grow on trees and nobody charges you for them. Most of the camp, women, kids, grandparents, heads out with baskets and digging sticks and comes back a few hours later with dinner. Reliable, boring, effective. Oh, and honey deserves its own sentence, because honey was the jackpot, the sweetest thing in the entire ancient world. In parts of Africa, humans even struck a deal with a wild bird, the honey guide, that flies ahead of you chirping until it leads you to a beehive. You crack it open, take the honey, leave the wax for the bird. A business partnership with a bird. Still no boss, though. The bird is more of a consultant. Hunting? Hunting was the lottery ticket. High risk, huge payout, terrible odds. When it worked, the whole camp ate meat, and the hunter got to tell the story for a week. But most hunts, came home with nothing. If your family had relied on Dad's spear alone, you would not be here watching this. Here's the number that breaks people's brains. Scientists who've lived with the Hadza of Tanzania keep timing the work and getting the same answer, 2 to 5 hours a day. It's why one anthropologist in the 60s called forager life the original affluent society. Fine print, that's the food run, firewood, repairs, and odd jobs push it up. Nowhere near your week. 15-ish hours a week. There are people who spend more time than that in meetings about meetings. It's early afternoon, the food's handled, and sunset is 7 hours away. Nothing that has to happen, 7 free hours every single day. Picture the camp at 2 in the afternoon. Someone's asleep under a tree with a hat of leaves on their face. 2 grandmothers are cracking nuts and cracking jokes. A circle of kids is playing a game with pebbles and screaming about the rules. Somebody's fixing a spear he broke, doing something he refuses to talk about. Nobody, not one person, is checking anything. And between the naps, the single most important human activity ever invented, talking about other people. Gossip sounds like a joke, but scientists are dead serious about it. In a camp where everyone depends on everyone, knowing who's generous, who's lazy, who cheated, who shared, that's not entertainment, that's the security system. Some researchers think that's literally why language evolved, not to say lion, run, animals can do that, but to say, don't trust Greg, he hides honey. That requires grammar. And while the gossip flowed, hands stayed busy. This was craft time. Chipping flint into blades, excellent choice of material by the way, straightening spear shafts, twisting plant fibers into string, which sounds pathetic until you realize string was cutting-edge technology. String is bags, traps, clothes, and carrying your baby without using your hands. String was the smartphone of 30,000 BC. Now the part nobody expects, because with that much free time, ancient humans didn't just survive, they developed hobbies, and we have the receipts. In a cave in France, people walked deep underground, far past the last daylight, pitch black, carrying little grease lamps, to paint lions and rhinos and horses on the walls. 30-something thousand years ago. The paintings are so good that when they were found, experts assumed they were fake. That's not survival. That's an art studio with terrible lighting. And it gets better. Some caves have hand stencils on the walls, and a bunch of them are small. Kids' hands. Someone took their children deep into a dark cave so the whole family could spray paint around their hands. That's not a ritual, that's craft day. Then there's the flute. Archaeologists found flutes carved from bird bones and mammoth ivory that are about 40,000 years old. Sit with that. Humans had flutes roughly 35,000 years before we had the wheel. We could play music before we could move a cart. Priorities. Add shell bead necklaces older than some mountains' names, toys, games, body paint, and a picture forms. Afternoons full of music, art, jewelry making, and lying in the shade roasting your friends. It's summer camp, forever. No phone, no shows, no feed. Weren't they bored out of their minds? Boredom needs a brain with nothing to chew on. Theirs were full. Walking through their world was reading. Every track in the mud was a status update. What animal, how big, how fast, how long ago, injured or healthy. Trackers read the ground like you read a screen. Except if they misread it, dinner escaped or something ate them. That's more suspense than most shows. Plus hundreds of plants, memorized, which feed you, cure you, kill you politely, or kill you rudely. A forager kid could probably out-identify a biology graduate. And in the evening, everything changed. Scientists who recorded thousands of conversations in forager camps noticed something beautiful. Daytime talk is business. Food, plans, complaints, Greg. But once the fire is lit, almost all of it turns into stories. Adventures, legends, funny disasters, dead relatives, myths. The fire was the television, and everyone took turns being the channel. Morning, a few hours of work. Afternoon, naps, crafts, gossip. Evening, stories by the fire. Then first sleep, the midnight intermission, second sleep. And if that sentence confused you, there's a whole video about it. So if the 15-hour workweek was normal for hundreds of thousands of years, what happened? Where did your 10,000 Mondays come from? Farming happened. About 12,000 years ago, someone figured out you could plant food instead of finding it. More calories per field, more babies, bigger villages. Sounds like an upgrade. It wasn't, not for the farmers. Fields need sunrise to sunset labor. Crops fail, so now famine exists. Grain can be stored, so now property exists. And someone has to guard the pile, and suddenly there's a guy with a stick telling you to work faster. One famous scientist called farming the worst mistake in the history of the human race. Harsh, not entirely wrong. And the workday never shrank back. The weekend is younger than the light bulb, the car, and some tortoises. But your body remembers the old schedule. That 2 p.m. slump where your brain files a resignation letter. The itch to make something with your hands. The way one fireside conversation with friends feels better than 100 notifications. That's not laziness, and it's not weakness. That's the original schedule, still running underneath. 2 hours of work, a nap in the shade, and stories after dark. You're not bad at working. You're just built for a much better job. But here's what we skipped. All of this hangs on one question. What was actually in those baskets? Because what ancient humans really ate is nothing like the caveman diet they sell you at the gym, and some of it will genuinely ruin your appetite. That's the next video. Subscribe, the gatherers already did.